History of my oldest ancestors of whom I am very proud descend. November 30th, 1016. Dies, probably murdered in London, Edmund Ironside, King of the Saxons, King of England, my 33rd, 34th and 36th grandfather, 5th grandfather of Richard the Lionheart and John Landless, Kings of England, and 7th grandfather of Dom Afonso III, King of Portugal. Edmund Ironside appears represented in the Netflix series Vikings, Valhalla, still a prince, played by actor Louis Davison. Edmund Ironside, King of the Saxons, King of England, born in Wessex in 980, and died on the 30th of November, 1016, was the son of Ethelred II, King of the Saxons, King of England, and Elfreda of Northumbria, paternal grandson of Edgar, King of the Saxons, King of England, and Ilfrida of Devon, and maternal grandson of Thorod Gunosorn, Earl of Northumbria and Ealdith. Edmund II, Ironside, Wessex, 980–30 November 1016, also known as Edmund Iron Arm, was King of the Saxons and King of England in 1016, succeeding his father, Ethelred II. He earned his nickname Iron Arm for the efforts he made to contain the advance of the Vikings led by Canute the Great. Edmund II ascended the throne in London at a time of crisis when Canute the Great had succeeded Sweinose I in Denmark and much of England. After some negotiations, Canute granted the kingdom of Wessex to Edmund, and they agreed that whoever lived longer would inherit all of England. As Edmund died shortly afterwards, possibly murdered, Canute became king of all England. Edmund II and his wife Ealdgith, or Edith, of Saxony were the parents of two children, Edward Atheling, later called Edward, the Exile, and Edmund. The two boys were still small when their father died, and Canute the Great entrusted them to the custody of his half-brother and ally, Olaf, King of Sweden. They were secretly sent to Kiev, where Olaf's daughter Ingigerd was queen. They were then sent to Hungary, probably in the entourage of Ingigerd's son-in-law, King Andras. The two children were placed in the care of the King of Hungary. The youngest son, Edmund, died childless. The eldest brother, Edward, known as Atheling, Anglo-Saxon, meaning prince or of noble birth, married Agatha Billingen, Princess of Hungary, my 32nd, 33rd and 35th grandmother, niece of Henry III, Emperor of Hungary. Germany, with whom he had 3 children. One son, Edgar Atheling, and 2 daughters, Christina and St. Margaret, Queen of Scots, my 31st, 32nd and 34th grandmother, married to Malcolm III, King of Scotland, my 31st, 32nd and 34th grandfather. Infancy. The exact date of Edmund's birth is unclear, probably in 980. He was the third of 6 children of Ethelred II, King of the Saxons, King of England, and his first wife, Elfreda of Northumbria, who was probably the daughter of Earl Thort of Northumbria. His brothers were Etelstano, died in 1014, and Egberto, died around 1005, and the youngest, Idrado, Eduino and Edgar. Edmundo had 4 sisters, Egida, or Edith, Elgiva, Volfrida. His mother died around 1000, after which his father remarried, this time to Emma of Normandy, who had 2 sons, Edward, the Confessor, and Alfred, and a daughter Goda. Warrior Prince. When Sweinose Forkbeard, son of Canute, took the throne at the end of 1013 and Ethelred fled to Normandy, his brothers did not follow him, but remained in England. Etelstano died in June 1014 and left Edmund a sword that had belonged to King Offa of Mercia. Sweinus died in February 1014, and the 5 boroughs of the Danelaw accepted his son Canute as king. However, Ethelred returned to England and launched a surprise attack that defeated the Vikings and forced Canute to flee England. In 1015, Sigefirth and Morcar met at an assembly in Oxford, probably hoping for a royal pardon, but were murdered by Edric Striona. Canute launched a new invasion of England. By the end of 1015, Edmund had raised a strong army, possibly aided by his wife and mother's connections with the interior and north, but the Mercians under Edric Striona joined the West Saxons in submitting to Canute. In early 1016, Edmund raised another new army and together with Earl Uhtred of Northumbria devastated Edric Striona's Mercian territories. King of England. King Ethelred died on April 23, 1016, and the nobles in London chose Edmund as king and probably crowned him, while the rest of the Witan, meeting in Southampton, elected Canute. Edmund then made a last-ditch effort to revive England's defence. While the Vikings besieged London, Edmund headed to Wessex, where the people acclaimed him and gathered an army. From there he fought inconclusive battles against the Vikings and their English supporters at Penzellwood in Somerset, and Shurston in Wiltshire. He advanced on London and defeated the Vikings near Brentford. While Edmund returned to Wessex to gather more troops, with the idea of returning to London again, Canute appeared and they faced each other in the decisive Battle of Asandon on October 18, 1016, in which Canute definitively defeated Edmund. There appears to have been, soon after, a peace negotiation, dividing the country between them. Edmund got Wessex while Canute received Mercia and probably Northumbria. Death. Edmund died on the 30th of November, 1016. The place of his death is uncertain, although it is generally accepted that it occurred in London. Family and descent. Edmund Ironside, King of the Saxons, King of England, married Ealdgyth, or Edith, of Saxony, my 33rd, 34th and 36th grandmother, and they had 2 children. Eduardo Atheling married to Agatha Billingen, Princess of Hungary, my 32nd, 33rd and 35th grandparents. Edmundo, no generation.